I want you to pick an object around you, or the first thing that comes to mind. It might be your phone, the shoes that you're wearing right now, or even the chair that you're sitting on. It probably plays a pretty minor role in your day-to-day lives. More often than not, we don't even think twice before we use it. But what if I told you right now that the very object you picked unlocks an endless amount of possibilities that can change the way we live? Today, I introduce you to material science. As its name suggests, it's the study of the materials around us. The field is extremely interdisciplinary, combining both the natural and the physical sciences together to describe how materials behave. It flew under the radar for so many years. In fact, it wasn't officially described as a field of its own until about 100 years ago, which makes it pretty new. Despite this, material science has been vital to our human history. Over many centuries, we've learned to use material science to our advantage without considering it directly. Funnily enough, I learned about material science purely by accident. Let me backtrack a little and tell you how it all panned out. Ever since I was little, I was extremely interested in the environment. If teachers going all the way back to elementary school could say one thing about my interests, it would probably be that I was the most interested in the environment. Needless to say, I would spend hours reading everything I could about it. Marine ecosystems, the greenhouse effect, you name it. I loved how everything came full circle, regardless of how insignificant something may sound. One day, when I was researching about the effect of plastics on our oceans for a school project, I learned about material science. I diverged a little from the school project and decided to search more about material science instead, and I was fascinated by how this field dabbled in so many different subtopics. I was interested in the environment because it connected to so many other areas of my life, and material science was a gateway for me to learn knowledge that I usually wouldn't think about. When we first think of science, I think a lot of us think about complicated equations or imagine a mad scientist holed up in their lab doing some complicated experiments. However, the beauty behind science is that it's actually quite accessible to us. We don't need these complicated procedures to observe it within our daily lives. Material science is also easily digestible because we can observe it with our 5 senses. Let me dive deeper and provide you an example of material science in action. If you're anything like me, you probably drop your phone every once in a while. It happens. But when it does, your screen cracks. I'm filled with a brief moment of dread. Something that I find to be a fairly important and costly part of my life is now permanently damaged. But fear not, because I have a screen protector. The screen protector plays a relatively minor role in my life until I drop my phone. Well, how does it work? Screen protectors are usually made from tempered glass, which is made when glass is heated to extremely high temperatures and cooled immediately afterwards with cold water. This relatively simple procedure makes it 4 times stronger than original glass. Interestingly enough, it also makes it break into small shards rather than big pieces. This makes it a lot safer and more ideal for things like car windows, shower doors, and even some of our glass coffee tables. Now, say that we combine this with polycarbonate, which is a type of plastic. Now, you have bulletproof glass. With a few changes in layers, this glass is now ready to withstand the impact of bullets going hundreds of meters per second. Think about it. The very thing that is protecting your phone can be simply altered to protect world leaders. When we think about the screen protector within our day-to-day lives, it's just our screen protectors. But if we look into the material and how it works, we can see how it applies to so many other areas beyond our lives. Tempered glass also works in many other applications. Let me describe how it applies to help us with natural disasters. You may have seen this photo before. It's of a window that was able to withstand the flooding effects of Hurricane Ian in Florida last year. It quickly went viral because people thought this couldn't be real. It wasn't possible for glass to withstand this much water pressure. Nevertheless, it was confirmed to be a validated photo, and people quickly hailed it to be hurricane-proof glass. While unfortunately there is no such thing as hurricane-proof glass right now, a mixture of tempered glass and laminated layers allows these windows to be able to withstand some of the harrowing flooding and wind effects of hurricanes. Interestingly, this is also used for our aquariums and our fish tanks. While this glass has the capacity to solve some of our issues and save many people's lives, it's also used for enclosing our beloved fish. What I mean to convey through all of this is that these little details that we see are the fundamentals of the day-to-day lives that we live. Even our most basic and mundane objects unlock information connecting to a vast variety of different areas. While I was explaining these examples to you, you may have been wondering why this is so important. After all, there are so many things we see every single day, and if we look into every single one of these details, we'll be overwhelmed with a rabbit hole of never-ending questions. I think about this a lot, especially when I'm trying to learn something new. Whenever I have a question, like the most of you, the first thing I do is search it up on the internet. I'm immediately daunted by the abundance of results that come up. There are thousands, if not millions, of search results for me to comb through. And not only that, a lot of the information is contradictory or extremely complex, which makes it hard for me to process. Although this can be stressful and a little time-consuming at times, overall, I still enjoy learning these little bits of information. This new knowledge is really satisfying to learn because it reveals something new about something I see every single day. It's almost as if I'm unlocking a secret, previously hidden level within my surroundings. Instead of being overwhelmed by these little bits of information, I want to be able to look at the bigger picture and how it completes everything I know about the life around me. Another reason why I like material science is because of its flexibility. Dental implants, solar panels, and clothes can all be described within the same field. Sometimes this can be a little bit burdening though. I was initially overwhelmed with the sheer amount of background information used to describe every single one of these examples. To tackle this issue, I decided to shift my focus from trying to learn everything I could about each of these examples, and instead look at how this general material can be applied across different areas. Through this, I was able to appreciate how this material applied to everything within my life and the things that I already know around me. I was able to see how these seemingly unrelated topics were in fact related. Through this, I was able to see material science to a further extent. It's the foundation of our scientific breakthroughs. By being able to transfer knowledge across the other scientific fields, material science expands the knowledge that we already know to otherwise unrelated places. For example, some of the research used to produce our plastic shopping bags is also used for medical devices and household paint. Even though these topics may seem pretty unrelated, at the core, they're made of the same type of material. Through this, it approaches the way we categorize science from a different perspective. Let's take spiderwebs, one of the strongest natural materials out there. From a biological standpoint, spiderwebs are created through a series of proteins within the spider's body. This procedure is vastly different from how we make medical bandages. However, they're both made of polymers, so within material science, they're considered to be in the same general category. Scientists are currently trying to produce synthetic string that is just as strong as the spider silk. Within material science, they're trying to see how it can be applied to things like medical bandages, parachutes, and even bulletproof vests. By looking at the knowledge that we already know and challenging its boundaries, we explore new breakthroughs like these. We then have the potential to solve some of our world's most biggest issues. Overall, material science has taught me to find greater meaning within the little details within my life. And while I want to know everything I can about it, I also know that looking at the big picture is just as important as learning these niche facts. Although I wish everyone in this room today can learn more about material science in the near future, I do understand that a lot of us already have a lot on our plate. I think that a lot of the experiences and things I've learned from material science can also be seen through other areas of our lives. If you can take away only one thing from this TED Talk today, I invite you to look into your own personal experiences and what interests you the most. You may find that it's deeply connected to other areas of your life, whether that be your hobbies, your career, your personal relationships, or even your aspirations. Through this, you might find something new and something more meaningful within your lives. And who knows? The next big discovery might be right in front of your very eyes. Thank you.